Namaste dosto, welcome to yet another rocking episode of FightMania with none other than Arjun aka Mystic Chips and your host and host Somesh the Superhuman Kamra. Oh, that's the OG t-shirt right there. That is the OG t-shirt. It's fitting so well. It's looking great on you. You're losing weight and you're so busy shooting that you can't come to the studio.
अरे क्या करेगा यार अभी कभी काम वाम बीच में आ जाता है but like always we have to make room for
More money.
change in time and
Achha.
of course we have a great show lined up. Money Sale. We have a great show lined up, but before we even get started, we're going to rush into a quick commercial break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Dude, Chips, you remember how Boat used to come at the end of the sponsorship and now suddenly it's come at number 1 and Capgemini has come like a little later?
I don't know, man. I don't know what's happening, but it's good. It's good that we've got sponsors on board now. And it's just a sign of, things. I think we finished before we became the FightMania podcast.
Yeah.
We did approximately 60 episodes of the Fighting Goat, which was what we started off as.
Right, which was over a year basically. Because there was one every week. So.
Yeah, we were. It's not as we do it bi-weekly, once in 2 weeks, but we were earlier doing it flat once a week.
Yeah.
Every Monday we were recording. Yeah, so I think it was a good transition because Fighting Goat existed a lot during the lockdown, for 1.5 years. So we got some great guests in during that time. And we were Somesh and I were chatting about the fact that, we've seen like how, as you know, FightMania is about everything that has to do with fighting.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about the kind of guests we've had on board. We've had like Ritu Fogat, we've had Gurdarshan Gary Mangat.
Yeah.
A lot of these stars from ONE FC.
Yeah.
And that got us started leading into a direction of, how important is the popularity aspect in fighting.
Right. In fact, that's such a good topic because most people that get into the sport now may not understand it's not just about the sport, So there's always going to be a Rishabh Pant who's the wicketkeeper for the Indian team, but a Virat Kohli is a whole new level because of the popularity, because of what he does, of course, on the pitch, and it's also outside the pitch. And same goes with all sports, It's just not about performance anymore. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but for the viewers, it's definitely a good thing. Because when you look at anybody in the combat world, there are good and there are great. Now, the difference between them is what the great do outside their profession, and
See, but I always think that, it's the popularity aspect will always make someone get attention when they didn't have attention. If you are a substandard player and then the popularity falls on you, it can be negative also. Because...
well, I agree, but not at all levels.
If in an organization, if I'm in an organization and I'm working I'm a mid-tier employee that is earning a standard salary.
Yeah.
And I'm not very good. I'm just surviving.
Yeah.
So if there's no spotlight on me, there might be a much higher chance of me holding that position for a longer time. Whereas if there was a spotlight put on me, saying that, okay, here's Arjun or here's Somesh, and then suddenly people realize that, oh shit, he's not as good as we thought he was. So there's a chance of getting cut, demoted, and a lot of things that go along with popularity. A lot of fighters today think that popular aspect is only a good thing. It's not.
Oh, no, it's not. It's not.
Popularity means eyeballs. Eyeballs means people are watching everything you do now.
Absolutely, yes. So, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, are you talking about Khamzat? Because when he had that beautiful hype behind him and then he ran into Gilbert Burns, people suddenly realized that this guy can be hit. And a lot of people started talking. In fact, even Jorge Masvidal, I believe, just tweeted maybe a day or so back and he said that I won't even fight Khamzat because he's not as good. He talks in a certain manner and he's running over certain people, but he's not at my level.
Right.
The moment he starts bringing in the numbers, that's when I'm going to smash his face.
Exactly. And that makes complete sense. See, Khamzat, I would still say is still a one hell of a fighter. He can fight, no doubt.
Yeah.
He's got the skills and he went through a war. Of course, he's no longer that undefeatable machine. A lot of people thought like, oh man, Khamzat, you can't touch this guy. You can't touch this guy.
Yeah.
And believe me, Gilbert Burns touched him.
Correct.
But what I'm alluding to in terms of the popularity aspect is, see what happened to guys like Tyron Woodley. Woodley was such a decorated welterweight champion.
Right.
And all the eyeballs on him when he fought Jake Paul.
Right.
And the manner in which he lost has now made him a social outcast.
Well,
in
see,
both
but
MMA and boxing.
it all comes down to Sultan. People don't understand the power. People don't understand the power of Salman Khan. So when he lost in Sultan, his career changed after that.
Everybody who loses, basically, bhai ke sath manga nahi lega.
Correct. There are,
off screen or on screen.
There are a lot of names out there, but if you see, anyone who's run into Salman Khan has never come back. I feel Salman is more dangerous than Jon Jones.
I think Salman is the beyond the goat. Dude. There is nobody more dangerous than Salman.
Correct. He's the sheep.
I mean, if you see, if you see somebody like Conor McGregor who's doing a movie now, the first thing I wanted to meet and ask him is that, is Salman involved? भाई के साथ film कर रहा है कि नहीं? फिर मैं देखेगा.
Absolutely, yes. In fact, it was quite interesting to see Jon Jones. Just last week, he tweeted saying, the only man who has survived and excelled after fighting me is Glover Teixeira, and I think he deserves another shot at the light heavyweight belt. Such an interesting term for someone who's not in very good terms with most of his opponents. It's kind of encouraging the Brazilian.
Yeah, he is. I mean, Jon Jones, if you see, when someone talks about fighting Jon Jones, I mean, look at him as a specimen. This man is not your regular fit athlete. This man is, if you look at his body, he's been created in a lab to fight.
Correct.
That's how he's been created.
Correct.
Strong upper body, strong arms,
and that's
strong
us.
shoulders, great core.
That's
and
us, behind on the on the bottom right. You see that fat guy out there? That's his wrestling coach.
On the left hand side, correct.
Yeah, that's us.
At least we're standing next to the girls, so I'm really happy. John can scream as much as he wants, but I'm next to the girls. No. It's I think Jon is going through a 2.0 phase in his life. After his arrest in Vegas 2 years ago. Or 1.5 years ago. I think something is, you always see great athletes reach greatness and then suddenly slip and slide for a long time.
Right.
And we saw that with Jones, where for the longest time, Jones's biggest enemy was Jon Jones.
Correct.
And now he's suddenly adopting a different approach. He's getting back to. Did you see that video of him sparring?
Oh, yes.
Bare knuckle.
Oh,
and
yes.
I'm like,
he was hitting the bags.
No. He was doing some hand-to-hand sparring with his coach.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't see that. I saw some bare knuckle shots that he was taking on the bag, on the boxing bag, and as in he looked beautiful. He looked beautiful.
So, how lean? I mean, he's dropped. Remember in the middle we saw him balloon up to 260.
Yeah,
easily.
Yeah. When he was doing like his heavy deadlifts and squats,
Correct. He was setting some world records of some 600 pounds and stuff.
Right.
I think he's made that. He's translated that entire strength now and cut down back into weight.
You know what? Most people, I feel, they do not appreciate is the fact that professional athletes need a break. Now, someone like Jon Jones, who became the champion at 21, he had so many ups and downs. And
just 21.
Before he was even 30, he was superstardom, super rich, super everything. So he's not really taken a break. So when you're moving weight classes, if you see how Israel Adesanya did it, he didn't do it the right way. He just, didn't cut weight. So
he did it the Anderson way.
Absolutely. So normally at 185, when you're weighing in at 185 on a Friday, 202, 203, and Israel Adesanya just played that same, mechanism, and he went ahead.
Exactly.
And we saw how that fight went down, and Jan Blachowicz dominated him totally and handed him the first loss in MMA. Jon Jones, on the other hand, has gone the traditional strength training routine where when you're weighing in at 205, he's probably at 220, 225 on fight day.
Easy.
But he ballooned up to 260 to build up strength, and now he's cutting down on his fat. So when he'll finally come back, he'll be about 235, 240 of absolute raging power, muscle, speed, and agility. And how scary that's going to be? I actually, now when I saw Jon Jones, I don't want that fight with Stipe Miocic, because I think after that Stipe will not come back.
After seeing Jones, it's, we've seen a lot of fighters in the last few years take a break.
Right.
And when they've taken a break, they've looked very, very good. And I'm not talking about GSP coming back to face Bisping, because as good as that was, he's still taking on somebody from the yesteryear.
And he retired after that.
Young phenom.
It was just one fight.
Yeah, and he got pieced up in that fight. Like
Yeah.
Bisping was touching him a lot. He was
Yeah.
busted up everywhere.
Yeah.
And just because of the fact that he's GSP and he's great, that's why he won.
Correct.
But my point is that I would have loved to see him against a younger contender. But coming back to Jones, is that the fact that he's taken that little break, he's done the hard work and put on that mass,
Yeah.
is what I'm liking about his potential return.
Absolutely. I think he's taken the perfect scientific approach. It's been absolutely fantastic. So, in fact, Jon Jones was one of the superstars that we mentioned who really changed the face of the UFC.
Oh, are we
And-
starting with Jones?
Well, I am such a huge fan of Jones. I would love to start with him.
Yeah, okay. Let's start with So, guys, if you didn't remember, we were talking about the popularity aspect of fighting.
Right.
We're not talking about skill. We're not talking about this thing. We're talking about how popular a fighter gets.
Right.
And from that point on, we see his career trajectory and how much he's affected the sport.
Right.
So, Somesh, when we look at Jon Jones, like you said, 21 years of age, thrust into superstardom. I mean, that clinic of a performance on Shogun Rua, when he beat him down, destroyed him.
Right.
And to be pushed into stardom at that age suddenly, it's the entire the entire universe changes.
Correct. Absolutely.
With a little bit of stardom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, see, the thing is that it's not just about the fact that you're a star inside the octagon. That's what I'm saying. That MMA, first of all, is such a new sport that people are still carving their way through it. Now,
Right.
Apart from all of that, it is so important to actually, be a role model to the younger generation. You need to have maybe a charity angle to it. You need to be flamboyant. You need to be flashy. You need to be nice, even outside your playing field. Now, especially in the, in the world of MMA, I would call that an octagon. So there are so many fighters. In fact, just the UFC has about 650 or 700 contracted fighters. How many stars can we remember? How many stars can we remember?
That's a good question. Okay, I'm talking about when I started watching. And,
Yeah.
and also, can we actually call them stars? Like in that sense, not just in the sense of the sport.
Yeah.
I'm talking about if you look at a contracted star, if you go anywhere in the world, and if somebody sees that mohawk of Chuck Liddell, even if you're not a full fight fan, you still know Chuck Liddell.
Oh my
You're like,
God.
yeah, that's the Iceman.
Absolutely, yes. Chuck
I
Liddell.
know Chuck Liddell. I've seen him in movies, TV.
Chuck Liddell was such a huge star. Chuck Liddell was such an iconic
Look
figure.
at that, man. Look at the Iceman. Dude, there was, I think in that, when I started watching, like when I got really into it,
Yeah.
I think the Iceman was a great hook to bring in fans.
Absolutely,
Because he was
yes.
the first guy who hammered guys on their feet, could stop the takedowns. And a lot of the guys back then didn't like the wrestling angle,
Yes,
A lot of
yes.
guys didn't like the ground game.
Right.
And Chuck was one of those guys that I think he was iconic. He may not have done like in terms of like titles and belts, but that's what I like. Back then it didn't matter. I think the popularity aspect has evolved and changed to a certain degree now. Nobody gave a shit about what Chuck did in public. Nobody did.
Absolutely, yes. Because there was not so much of social media and emphasis on those angles were not.
Kuch tha hi nahi.
Yeah, kuch zyada tha hi nahi, to be really honest. So, in fact, Chuck Liddell was such a big star because he crossovered from those Pride FC days and those wars with Wanderlei Silva, came into the UFC. Is a kickboxer who was not taken down for a very long time in his career because people were actually scared of his knee coming up or his uppercuts or the way he used to maintain range. He was that good. And these aspects made a huge difference because he never really aimed at going at the title. Someone like a Nate Diaz, they never really aimed at going towards a title. They were outright themselves.
No, never.
And as they say, they were outright gangsters. They loved this life. They loved fighting. They didn't fight for the sporty aspect for it. They didn't fight for the name. They didn't fight for money. They didn't fight for belts. They just fought because they loved it. Someone like Chito Vera just said it. Chito Vera said that this world is so unnatural. The fact that I love fighting for a living itself is so scary, but I enjoy it. It's what I'm made of. I mean, that is me.
Yeah, it's Chito Vera is also one of those, those popular guys.
Badass guys.
Yeah, they just, who don't give a crap about what they say on social media, and they don't give a crap about what people think about them leading their lives. But I'm saying when we talk about the, that entire path of guys coming after Liddell.
Yeah, Rampage Jackson and
we saw Rampage Jackson, but again, in terms of popularity, I'm talking about like it's, the UFC got lucky when they got their poster boy, George St. Pierre.
Yeah.
GSP was a very, squeaky clean image. I mean, I'm not trying to be racist here, but it doesn't get squeaky cleaner than that. You're white, you're good looking, you can fight, you speak Canadian French, and you're a And it's
and you're a
all
clean
these things
athlete. You're a clean athlete.
and you're a clean athlete.
You're someone that has never got drug busted.
No controversy.
Absolutely no controversy. And he has such a good story. Like somebody from, like a newspaper thrower from and then he
He was a
became
garbage man, no?
a garbage man. And then he became, he used to go and drop newspapers at people's houses to learning karate to becoming a world champ and finally retiring as a world champ.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, if you look at GSP's popularity, it
Yeah.
was firstly demographically, it lit Canada on fire.
Absolutely.
I mean, do you remember the days when we would not? I couldn't even remember the cards, but if I knew GSP was fighting as the main event versus Koscheck or whoever or BJ
Yeah.
Penn, and and that card would. I mean, I remember the Quebec Center would fill up with 60,000 people coming to watch GSP paying I don't know how much money.
Right.
But those live gates, GSP was one of the guys with his popularity that moved that live gate up.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And in fact, he was a good-looking guy. He was a clean athlete.
Perfect model.
And he used to win.
He looked like a bloody model.
And he's to win. So it's such a good trajectory that you took us through from Liddell to Jon Jones to GSP. But there's also one person that I would definitely like to mention, and that's Ronda Rousey. Not only,
yes, how could I forget?
Not only was she the first female athlete to actually hold the belt, but at the same time, she did so many great things outside the octagon. She was a 2-time Olympian. Her mom was a judoka. Her dad sadly, ended his life in a very tragic manner. She overcame all of that. And then she really became this champion, this dominant champion who was finishing the fighters, like her opponents, in less than a minute and a half. So, in fact, it's so good because everybody's life has some stories. And the UFC picks these guys who they feel are champions. So the matchmakers are absolutely through the roof. Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard are absolutely geniuses. But I love the way how UFC spins stories around their champs.
Do you remember the time when Ronda Rousey was in Strikeforce and she submitted Misha Tate? She was iconically known for her ability to pull off that armbar from nowhere, no matter where.
Right.
And it was that era of, it's that era of that got her popularity in the MMA world. But then suddenly, her persona changed. She took the nickname of Rowdy Roddy Piper from the WWE, a legend from the WWE. And she used that Rowdy name, which is stuck with her now.
Right.
And she became this rowdy Ronda Rousey, where she had that expression and that scowl. And there are millions of girls that she inspired to do that. And I ran into an Indian fighter.
Right.
Her name is Rekha Chaudhary.
Okay.
And I swear to God, Somesh, her expression is Ronda Rousey. She's a carbon copy. She's emulated her entire game plan based on her. Except for the armbar, she's literally a marauder. Like I thought Asha Roka was running through people. This girl is 15-0 in the amateurs.
Oh, really?
And she's 8-0 in pros.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And when I had a chance to speak to her, she's like, Ronda Rousey. That's all she said. She's like, I grew up with Ronda Rousey. I watched Ronda Rousey. She's 19 years old, dude. 19 years old. And she embodies, like even the way she looks when she's on camera, she's copying Ronda Rousey. Completely.
Oh, wow. I have to see that.
That's the level of popular. People talk about Gina Carano, who is a global movie star, and she's popular.
Right.
But nobody beats the popularity of Ronda Rousey in the women's division.
Absolutely.
Nobody, not even today.
No chance. In fact, that kind of popularity, because also, again, she looked fabulous. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. She was cute.
And everything apart from, there are many winners. There are so many winners in the UFC. Like Tyron Woodley was winning for a very long time, but who was never a popular, loved champion.
That's a great example. In fact, Tyron was hated.
Yes, he
honestly.
was. He was
hated for the longest time.
And I have no idea why. In fact, for a very long time, even DC
Maybe
was
after
hated.
Wonderboy Thompson. Dude, Daniel Cormier is, I cannot forget the amount of times he's been booed in front of Jones.
Yeah.
Who is, if you look at popularity wise, like common sense wise, like this guy's been arrested, he's been this, he's that. It's, I think people relate to
the bad boy angle.
Not just the bad boy angle, but it's, the more, I think, wo zamane mein na earlier, ek time tha, jahan the GSP squeaky image was what people wanted.
Correct.
Now people want, it's like even in video games. Back then you were Rambo.
Yeah.
And you could beat everybody.
Then you became Bruce Lee.
Correct. You became Bruce Lee. But now it's the regular guy. They want to see the regular guy survive and make it big.
Interesting.
Jones was this black kid from talent pool of a family who had athlete brothers and had a lot to live up to, at 21 years of age becomes the world champion and screws up throughout his life with multiple DUIs, arrests, drug problems. He's been busted so many times. And I think the American public related to that more than the squeaky clean image of an Olympic athlete. Now, I don't know whether that's right or wrong. But
well, so you're actually trying to say that in the 60s and 70s, how we used to have the bell-bottom pants. And then in the 80s, 90s, 2000s came the tight jeans, and now the bell-bottoms are coming back.
Correct. So you never know.
So maybe what's happening is that the trend of fighter attraction is going back to the bad boys, So if you look at Jon Jones, if you look at Nate Diaz, if you look at, Khamzat, in his interviews, he clearly says, just put anybody. I'm going to kill them.
Correct.
Just put anybody.
Except Gilbert Burns.
It's not... it's not that, shake hand, bow down, hug the opponent. That thing is phasing away. The stars.
I know who you're looking at when you talk about that. The shake hand, bow down is Anderson Silva.
Oh, no. So, Anderson Silva is still the greatest of all time. There's no doubt about that. I don't want to, again, he was not as popular as I would like him to be.
No, he wasn't.
But when it comes to his fighting career, undoubtedly the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I mean, no.
Out here, when we talk about, someone even... Sorry.
I'm talking about, I wanted to add one point.
We are so charged up. We are so charged up.
I want to add one point. I think there were two levels of popularity with Silva. He was never popular with, because of his ability to, he didn't speak English. He didn't connect with the masses in that sense.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people thought his silence and his respect was actually his arrogance. Silva was an arrogant champion and he bloody deserved it because he was the greatest of all time. And you deserve to be arrogant. Because you're the greatest. And his bowing down, a lot of people deciphered it later as, that's him mocking you. When he put the belt in front of his opponent, it was his way of saying, F you, this is mine.
Come get it.
You can't touch it. He used to use a Portuguese phrase called nunca será, jamais será. There will never be another me. Basically, it means that I will always be the one that will be.
That is insane. That is
creepy.
Insane. I absolutely love that. But, when it comes down to popularity, what I like and what I dislike about popularity is that it's a double-edged sword.
Fully.
There are so many fighters, and I'm very sad to say, I mean, because we're in India and we interact with, the guys here more often, they have started focusing more on being a trash talker and dressing in a certain way and not as much on their game. So now let me put a fighter out there for everybody. Platinum Mike Perry.
Oh, yes.
Platinum Mike Perry was not, he was not the most skilled guy. He didn't have the best technique out there. He didn't win always.
No.
But so popular because he came and he brought on the fight. He brought on the fight.
You'd compare him to a Diaz, right? I mean, if you had to say that Diaz had this. No, actually, Diaz was also very technical.
But Diaz was very skilled.
Yes,
Diaz was very skilled.
He is still very skilled, yes.
He's got his hands which are absolutely through the roof. His jiu-jitsu is through the roof.
Oh, man.
Platinum Mike Perry is still a very, very liked fighter, but he was just not winning. I think the UFC cut him after a 5 or a 6 losing streak when he started getting his girlfriend in his corner. And he really had no camp. It was just going down the drain, but he was still popular.
He's facing...
And that was because...
He's facing Michael Venom Page in BKFC. As a crossover fight between Bellator and BKFC?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. You know what? Now that fight is going to get insane pay-per-views because Michael Venom Page, again, is a champion, but not as loved as what, a UFC champion would technically be. I think it was Diego Lima that knocked him out in Bellator.
Douglas Lima.
Oh, Douglas Lima. Yeah. Douglas Lima. You're right. Douglas Lima knocked him out and just shot to fame post that. But again, coming back to Mike Perry. Not the most skilled, not a guy with excellent technique, but still people loved him. So it's just about being real and true to yourself. And that is so important. Speaking about being real and true to yourself, there's one man that we cannot forget in this list of popularity.
Tell me.
Is Brock Lesnar.
Oh, flip, man. Oh, shit. When you talk about popularity,
Brock Lesnar,
you're not going to get bigger than Brock Lesnar.
This man crossed, of course, was a professional wrestler, crossed over from WWE, went into the UFC, fought at UFC 100.
Yes, iconic
then,
card.
Of course, iconic card with a yellow mat or something of a sort. retired, took a break, came back for UFC 200.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, and he was a legit fighter. In fact, people thought, a lot of fighters or performers from WWE can come. But man, look at CM Punk. What happened to him?
Look at Batista. Batista tried his hand.
Look at Batista.
Yeah,
Batista won his fight.
Bobby Lashley.
So true, Bobby Lashley. But I mean, nowhere close to Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar had his mouth running.
Yeah.
He had his hands flowing. He was a huge, monstrous, mountain of muscle.
Yeah, he was this imposing beast, No, and I think, Somesh, it was the first time that we ever saw crossover fans come in. I mean, Brock Lesnar brought with him his legion of WWE supporters. Legion.
Yes, absolutely.
And if we talk about numbers,
in fact,
of fans in WWE versus fans in MMA, WWE fans will outnumber MMA fans.
Is way more. So I just love the fact that, the UFC picked Brock Lesnar, and they must have had some talk with Dana White and Sean Shelby and this and that. They must have groomed him to a certain level, but still, WWE, which is not real, moving into a real sport where you will get punched, you will get hit, is a totally different ballgame.
Exactly.
The most iconic, face-off that I've seen was Randy Couture versus Brock Lesnar.
Jeez,
and Randy Couture is a legit heavyweight. Brock Lesnar was 2 weight classes above him. It was huge, and it was that big, and and he performed well. And man, so popular. So popular.
Brock was the kind of athlete that redefined the heavyweight division. The guys who after they saw Brock Lesnar, the guys knew they had to pack on mass. They just couldn't survive in that kind of world. Where Brock was...
Frank Mir.
I mean,
Shane Carwin.
Yeah, correct. The kind of behemoths these guys. Gabriel Gonzaga. All these guys started coming in, were heavy and big. And Czech Congo and Pat Barry and all these guys were big guys.
Right.
But nobody was as big as Brock. Nobody. I mean, Brock was...
Nobody.
I mean, I was watching a video today. On this day today was Brock's fight against Heath Herring. And that was his first win in the UFC. And I remember seeing, Heath Herring is by no means a small guy. He's a proper pride fighter.
Heath Herring used to look bigger than Krokop when they fought.
Correct, exactly. Heath Herring was huge and he looked small compared to Brock Lesnar. And I'm like,
right.
Somebody I met told me like, they'd gone for a fan expo or something, and they got to see Brock Lesnar like about 4 feet away. And they were telling me that, I'm 6'2" and I'm a big guy. He's like, that man is 6'6" and can rip you apart by not even, he has to just use his finger and do this. He is that imposing.
Oh, he just has to see you basically.
He basically has to see you. It's like Mike Tyson. When he looks at you, you're knocked out. You consider that you're knocked out. No, but Brock's popularity was so polarizing because it created a lot of backlash also. A lot of fighters were like, oh, what the F, and you have to do this and do that and run your mouth. But it's Brock paved the way towards popularity because guys realized that shit, we're going to start marketing ourselves now.
Absolutely. And this was a time where Conor was not Conor.
Oh,
he was just,
Conor McGregor,
he was just warming up, he was just warming up into being himself and winning some fights and then, wearing better suits and better
Conor
watches.
McGregor was visualizing his future at this point. He was just visualizing. Right. And that's a perfect segue because you can't get better in terms of popularity in this sport than Conor McGregor.
Absolutely, yes. Number 1 on the list is none other than Conor McGregor. See, apart from having a good career, apart from being the first double champ, let me tell you, if you see the 5 top pay-per-views, they all have Conor in it.
I believe it. I think he outsold Brock, right?
Yes, easily.
Really?
Easily. I don't even think that the Brock fight was in the first 5. They all are Conor. So there's Conor Khabib and all of that. If you want me to pull it up, I can just pull it up. So there was Khabib and Conor, which was at number 1. And then there is Conor and Nate Diaz 2, which is at number 2. Then I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was Conor Nate Diaz 1 at number 3. There was Eddie Alvarez and Conor.
That was a co-main event though.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Eddie Alvarez, Conor McGregor.
When he became champ.
Yeah, number 4. So, these are all like massive fights. It just cannot be bigger than Conor. There's a huge speculation because most people see Conor either on TV or on social media and he has a certain persona.
Yeah, he does.
But most fighters who actually meet him backstage say, no, he's very quiet. He doesn't talk.
I really believe that, because I think that Conor McGregor, it's a lot of people used to compare him to Chael Sonnen because Chael Sonnen was the greatest shit talker in the business. Nobody's better than him.
Right.
The only difference is Conor for the longest time. I'm not disparaging Chael Sonnen here. I love him. He's such an amazing, amazing athlete and fighter. But
Right.
he, to a large extent, of course, made a lot of fun of people. Like any nonsensical things, like the Nogueiras feeding the carrot to the bus and trying to take it home was complete crap. It's comedy. It's complete hilarity. But Conor McGregor, in terms of his, if you realize that switch, it started when he faced Dennis Seaver. Then it became better when he beat Chad Mendes. And it became even better after that, because after beating Chad Mendes on a short notice, he calls out Aldo.
Yeah.
And then they had a 1 year long marketing build-up for the Aldo fight, which didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I think they spent, I think, Somesh, correct me if I'm wrong, they must have spent millions and millions of dollars. It was across 4 countries that they did the promotions, right? They did Ireland, did Brazil, they did America.
London,
correct. They just flew everywhere. There was a time where, Aldo used to complain saying that I'm just tired of the build-up. Let's fight now.
I think it was $8 or $9 million just on the promotions.
Man. You saw those videos that they were cutting with Conor McGregor and Vegas Sunset Strip walking down, throwing money in the air. And I mean, the popularity that sparked off a channel called the Mac Life, which follows him around, showing the life of Conor McGregor has made it. A lot of fighters are now also sadly not looking at the work that Conor put in. Conor was a poor plumber and he busted his to get to where he is. People forget that part. People are looking at the parties where he's getting fat and he's smoking and drinking and he's got $1 billion and he's got a whiskey label. But his popularity came because of the work he put in.
See, come what may, like no matter what people say around the world, when Conor and Floyd fought, let me tell you, they still went towards the end of the fight. It's not like he finished him off in round 3 or
10 rounds. Conor McGregor hung in there.
It didn't get over. And Conor really struck him a couple of times. It was not, of course, it was like a 80-20, but
more like
being
90-10,
a 20,
90-10.
But okay, even if it's 90-10, it's my debut and you're 49-0 or 46-0 or like whatever he was at that point of time.
49-0.
It's crazy to even make that fight. And this guy, Conor McGregor, hung till the 10th round.
He did.
It just shows what kind of a fighter he is. He stands up, he does stuff, he promotes the company. And the good part is, he openly says it. The UFC make this much money from me. I deserve this much money. It's as simple. And what I really want to tell all the young fighters coming up is, you may be flashy, you may be throwing off these Instagram reels and all that. Is your company making money off you? Are you really performing that well?
Right.
Are you that killer inside the octagon that your organization would want to pay for?
Right.
And if these check boxes are done, then yes, you will be a star. But if not, please don't focus on the flamboyance. First, focus on the sport and then go on to the flamboyance, because you cannot go the other way.
There's a famous quote by one of the, I think it was LeBron or Steph or someone. I can't pinpoint who exactly. He's always said, they said, if you want to be a star, you got to show me a star effort. And that sums it up perfectly.
Yes.
You want to be a star, you got to put in a star effort.
Absolutely, yes. And
guys like Conor McGregor and Brock Lesnar, say what you want, their popularity, it all stems from ridiculous star efforts. I mean, NCAA champion, this, that, whatnot. I mean, look at the list of accolades that Brock had. Look at the list of this thing that Conor had. He was a cage rage champion, left his belt, got his chance in the UFC. It's
2-division champion in cage rage.
2-division champion cage rage, 2-division champion in the UFC. It's the star effort that makes these guys popular, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yes. And speaking of star efforts, we're going to take a short commercial break here. We'll be right back and talking about the Indian contingent at the Commonwealth. A lot more only after the short commercial break on FightMania. Stay tuned.
Whoa.
Thank you to all our sponsors, from Boat to Capgemini to all of them. But there's a very important show that's called A Sip of Finance, Chips. And I think you were talking about some mutual funds. Maybe we can consult the host of that show and get a mutual fund investment sorted.
Absolutely. But but the only problem is that mera izzat ka faluda nahi hona chahiye online, because I have somebody managing this for me. I am hopeless when it comes to doing this, I'm hopeless when it comes to doing this. So I think listening to that show might give me some tips. But I certainly don't want to be a part of it.
But who was not hopeless are the Indian contingent in Birmingham this Commonwealth Games. Dude, 61 medals, and amongst all the countries that participate, I think maybe 40, 50 of them,
Yeah.
we stood ranked number 4.
Fantastic, man. That's just, it's
We were
just
4th. 61 medals.
this is honestly what makes me, feel amazing, because India is so much more than cricket in terms of sport.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm loving the fact that athletes who are shedding shedding their skin, shedding that title,
Yeah.
saying India can only succeed at cricket. No, they're succeeding at wrestling, boxing, and these were dominated by the US at one point, and South America.
Right.
And I'm seeing
Right.
such amazing athletes coming out, and it's just becoming an exciting
Right.
time. I do a lot of work in boxing, and I'm just seeing that crop of fighters, who are focused. Yes, we want to fight. We want to represent India in the Olympics once. And after that, I'm going pro. And I'm liking that attitude. I'm really liking that attitude.
Well, in fact, it's so beautiful because a lot of people, a lot of organizations, a lot of sponsors are in fact looking at other sports other than cricket, because cricket has its set sponsors, it has its set system, it's got all of that.
Yeah.
How many more superstars can we make in, the Lisa? I mean, there's a show on Sony, I think it is Coco. It's some Coco league.
Ultimate Coco league.
Ultimate Coco.
Yeah.
It's going the IPL way, the same, that six cities, 6 franchises, each owner.
Correct.
Badshah, I think, is involved, and
Wow.
our very own Puneet Balan is involved in the Mumbai franchise.
Wow.
But, it's kind of pooling in the resources to make champions other than cricket. Look at IVM itself. We have this beautiful show called FightMania, and they're giving us this platform, and we can voice our opinion, we can talk to everybody, we can tell them as to, what is happening in the sport, what to do, what not to do, because here there are 2 experienced guys with 10 plus years of experience each to actually speak with you guys and talk to you.
The
So
only
I think it's
show
so good
to listen to about combat sports in India and out of India is FightMania. That's it. I'm not going to say this.
But aren't we the best?
We are the best. We are the best.
Yeah. But yeah, so, Team India, again, Commonwealth, superb.
Amazing.
61
Incredible.
medals.
Incredible.
And that really gets my chest proud like that.
It is.
And,
It is a proud moment for India, because every year we are doing better and better. And I'm just hoping that eventually that in the next few years, I'm not hoping anymore. I just see it happening. I know somewhere in the next 5 years the private sector is going to step in, and we're going to see these sports get a much bigger spotlight. We're going to see the much bigger limelight.
Absolutely. Because I think this year's contingent for Team India was completely sponsored by JSW Sports and Adani Sports.
Fantastic.
Completely, top to bottom.
Exactly. That's
from nutrition to clothes to training to everything. And look at the result: 61 medals, 22 gold, 17 silver, 23 bronze, if I'm not mistaken. And couldn't be better than that.
It's amazing. You're seeing, we're seeing. Remember I was telling you I was doing a venture which is yet to come out, and it's being backed by Sunil Shetty, and this, and we're seeing. He was telling me. Now I can't focus. We've been seeing. He's been helping out all the athletes for free with his nutrition brand.
Yeah.
And I'm liking the fact that these guys are now realizing, yes, it's becoming, it's becoming a point where I think they're getting backed up by private sectors so that they can do this for the athletes.
Absolutely. And why not? Because instead of focusing on the big fish, why don't we look at the small fish and try and make them big fish?
Exactly.
Because there are so many out there.
Exactly.
So many out there, And
it's crazy how how good the how well the market is getting better and better. And speaking of which, we've had a great show so far, Somesh Kamra. It's almost been, I think, 50 minutes now that we've been on the air.
45.
We need to wrap this up by talking about the upcoming fight between a veteran in Dominic Cruz taking on a young blood named Chito Marlon Vera.
Oh my God. In fact, I think in the last 7 or 8 weeks, we've been having fights every single weekend. And it's going to go on for another 3 weeks, which means 10 consecutive weekends we're going to be having fights. And I can't remember one card which was not good. Because they were all banging fights. They were all banging fights. In fact, Dominic Cruz is such a superior athlete. He came back from a 4-year layoff, and I think he beat, if I'm not mistaken, was it Cody Garbrandt or TJ Dillashaw?
No, he beat, he lost to Cody Garbrandt.
Oh, then he beat TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah. He beat
TJ Dillashaw on his comeback. And man, such a motivated fellow who's a commentator with the UFC,
Yes.
takes some time off, takes about 12 weeks, 16 weeks, come back and says, I want to compete. I want to feel that leather on my hands. I want to get into that competition again. And he's facing an absolute killer in Chito Vera.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what Chito Vera tweeted yesterday.
What do you say?
He said this fight was originally offered to Peter Yan and Peter Yan turned it down.
Why?
I have no idea.
I mean,
And that was so interesting because, we don't know. I mean, we
actually,
don't know.
I know why.
Maybe people.
I know why. It's for somebody like Peter Yan, who has now lost, a slim decision lost to the champion Aljamain Sterling. He is still. I know. Your love is there only, no. But don't worry. He's facing your best fighter coming soon.
Yes, Sean O'Malley, Sugar Show.
So no, I understand why he would say no to it because see, if he wins, people will say, oh, he's beaten a former yesteryear fighter in Dominic Cruz. If he loses,
Oh no! So I think it was Chito Vera versus Peter Yan, and Peter Yan turned it down, and hence it was Dominic Cruz.
oh shit, okay. I got confused completely.
Yeah.
No, man, Chito Vera is a handful for anybody,
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
and he's
In
on
fact,
the rise, and he's huge for that division.
It's a great fight. If you ask me for predictions, I will straight go down and say Chito Vera. He's too much of pressure for somebody like Dominic Cruz, who's just coming back. Yes, Dominic Cruz's movement is absolutely A-class. We cannot doubt that. But when it comes to pressure, you can move as much as you want in front of me. But if I just start backing you up, there's going to be that much that you can do.
See, if somebody who can start cutting the ring off or the cage off for Frankie Edgar, you can't hide from him. Frankie is one of the best footwork. Frankie had some of the best footwork in the UFC for the longest time. And if you can cut off Frankie Edgar, it's not going to be an easy night for you. And the thing with Chito Vera is he doesn't fight on points. It doesn't exist in his head. He's out there to take your head off. He's going to rip you apart.
He just wants to knock you out.
He wants to destroy you. He's like a heat-seeking missile. He's after you. He's not going to quit. And till he gets his target, he doesn't stop. And we've never seen Chito Vera,
Very true.
Quit. So I think it might be a little too much for Dominic Cruz at this point in his life. He's been a great champion. He's been a great fighter. He's been one of the best, in that division for the longest time. But I think Chito Vera, he might realize it after he faces Chito Vera.
Absolutely, yes. So, I believe even you are going to go for Chito Vera.
Yes,
we both
sir.
are, in fact, lining towards Chito Vera. Please make your picks, hashtag us on all social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, somesh.kamra, and on Twitter, Somesh_Kamra.
Thank you so much, Somesh. I'm at Arjun at the Mystic Chip on Twitter, and I'm at Arjun Chips on Instagram. So, guys, don't forget to tune into our podcast every second Thursday or every Thursday. Actually, it depends. We'll let you know when it's happening. It might have even be twice in the coming week. But always tune in to FightMania podcast on ibmpodcast.com and check out our whole library of old episodes, which was now labeled under the Fighting Goat, to just get an idea of what we are and who we are. Follow us for lots of cool merchandise and stuff, and we will catch you on the other side in the coming week. You've been listening to the voices of the Mystic Chip, Arjun Chipalkatti, and my main man, Somesh, the Superhuman Kamra. We'll see you next week. Sayonara and stay safe.